My name is Lauren Hayes, and I'm 30 years old. I live with my husband, Ryan, 5 years older than me, and our 5-year-old son, Ethan. Today we're attending a wedding, though it's more Ryan's connection than mine. The bride and groom? Barely acquaintances to me, but my husband knows them well enough to warrant an invite. The ceremony is in a stunning luxury hotel, the kind where you can tell no expense was spared, the kind where, despite knowing it's rude, I can't help but wonder just how much this all cost. Crystal chandeliers, ivory silk tablecloths, an endless flow of champagne. It's a world away from where I came from. I'm going to say hi to a few people. Ryan leans in, whispering against my ear. You okay? I nod with a smile, excusing myself to the ladies' room for a moment of quiet. On my way back, though, I hear it low voices laced with mockery, the unmistakable tone of someone being talked about. And then I realize the words are about me. Oh wow, look who's here. Why is she even in a place like this? That useless girl. What a joke. Who invited her? I stop in my tracks. The voices are familiar, too familiar, but they aren't even trying to be subtle. My fingers curl into my palm, my chest tight. I should just walk away. But then, hey, ugly thing. I know you can hear me. My breath catches. I keep walking, forcing myself not to react. But then fingers dig into my arm, hard enough to make me wince. I said, wait. A voice hisses, breathless from the effort of chasing after me. I turn my head slightly, and there she is. My sister, Emily, standing in front of me in a designer dress, looking me up and down like I'm dirt beneath her shoe. Beside her, my mother, arms crossed, shaking her head in disapproval. My stomach twists, but I shake off my sister's grip. She stumbles back with an exaggerated gasp, as if I had pushed her. What's wrong with you? Emily shrieks. Violence, really. I guess that's what happens when someone like you is raised without class. Class. Right. As if they ever had any. I cross my arms. Excuse me, but what exactly do you want? My mother scoffs. What? You don't recognize your own family anymore? How self-absorbed can you be? Family. That word means nothing coming from her. Before I can respond, 2 men rush over. One of them is Emily's fiancé, Aaron. The other? My father. The moment his eyes land on me, his expression sours. What is she doing here? He mutters, his voice filled with disdain. Who let her in? She must have crashed the wedding, Emily spits out, pointing at me. Throw her out, Dad. She's trying to ruin my special day. But before anyone can move, Aaron's expression shifts, his brow furrows, his eyes flickering with something close to recognition. Wait, Lauren? I tilt my head. You know who I am? Aaron looks between me and Emily, confusion etched across his face. Of course, you were invited. You and Ryan both. We checked the guest list together, remember? Emily freezes. I watch her carefully, her hands tighten into fists. Her mouth opens, then closes. She hadn't expected that. Ryan's voice cuts through the tension. Lauren, there you are. I turn to see him approaching, his brows drawn together in concern. The moment he spots Emily and my parents, he tenses. He doesn't have to ask. He already knows. Oh, how wonderful, my mother sneers. You actually managed to catch a decent husband. How did that happen? Did you trick him? Ryan steps closer, standing protectively beside me. Excuse me? Ryan, you don't know who she really is, Emily snaps, regaining her composure. She's just a leech, a failure. Our family had to carry her for years. You think she's some kind of successful woman now? Please. Ryan's jaw clenches, but before he can say anything, Aaron interrupts, looking visibly uneasy. Wait, is this true? He asks Emily. She scoffs. Obviously. She's nothing but a disgrace. Our family threw her out years ago. I let out a quiet laugh. Emily glares at me. Something funny? I meet her gaze, my voice calm, even. I was never thrown out, Emily. I left. And that changes everything. Silence hangs in the air like a thick fog. Emily's lips part, but no words come out. My parents shift uncomfortably, their carefully crafted masks of superiority beginning to slip. You left? Emily finally spits out, her voice laced with disbelief. As if you had nowhere to go. You were nothing without us. I tilt my head, amused. Really? Then how is it that I'm standing here, dressed in clothes I paid for, attending a wedding I was actually invited to with a husband who adores me? My father steps forward, his expression twisted in anger. Don't you dare talk back to your sister like that. We raised you, fed you, put a roof over your head, and in return, you treated me like a servant. I cut in, my voice sharp. You made it clear I was never wanted. So why the theatrics now? Aaron's eyes flick between us, confusion deepening into something more. Suspicion, maybe. He turns to Emily. You told me she was a failure, that she was lazy, useless, but she doesn't look like someone who's struggling. Emily forces a laugh, but it sounds hollow. Oh, please, don't fall for her act. She probably married rich and is leeching off her husband. Ryan, who has been quiet until now, lets out a dry chuckle. You think that's how this works? Lauren runs her own company, one that, funnily enough, even hospitals like yours rely on. Aaron stiffens. What? Ryan smirks. She didn't just sit around and let life happen to her. She built something. From nothing. All while you were feeding Emily lies about how she'd be the only successful one in the family. Emily's face drains of color. You're lying. I cross my arms. Am I? My mother looks like she's swallowed a lemon. Even if that's true, it doesn't erase the past. You were a difficult child, ungrateful, always causing trouble. I laugh at that really laugh. Trouble? You mean asking for basic decency, like wanting to go to college, like not wanting to be treated like garbage while you handed Emily everything on a silver platter. Aaron steps back slightly, his expression guarded. Emily, is any of this true? She scoffs. You're seriously going to believe her over me? I'm your fiancé. Ryan sighs, rubbing his temples. Look, I don't care about whatever twisted family dynamic you all have, but you dragged my wife into this, so now I do care. And you should know, Lauren doesn't need to lie. She doesn't have time for petty games. Aaron's gaze flickers back to me. There's doubt in his eyes now, a hesitation that wasn't there before. Then my father, desperate to regain control, steps forward. This is ridiculous. Let's stop entertaining her nonsense But I'm done. I meet his gaze head on. Dad, I say, voice steady. Tell me one thing, just one thing you ever did for me out of love, not obligation. Not because you had to, but because you actually cared. Silence. My mother looks away. Emily stares at the floor. My father's mouth opens, then closes. They have nothing. Because the truth is, there's nothing to say. I exhale slowly. That's what I thought. Aaron, to his credit, looks genuinely shaken. He turns to Emily. You told me your sister was a dropout, that she was aimless, bouncing between jobs. Emily's jaw clenches. And? Aaron hesitates. And if that was a lie, what else have you lied about? Emily's entire demeanor changes. Are you seriously taking her side right now? On our wedding day? Ryan raises an eyebrow. Funny. You accused Lauren of crashing, but it turns out she was on the guest list. Maybe the real problem is that you didn't want her here because you were afraid of what she might say. Emily's hands shake. You don't know what you're talking about. Ryan shrugs. Maybe. But you're the one who started this fight, remember? Aaron rubs his face, exhaling sharply. I need a moment. Emily panics. Aaron, wait. But he's already turning away, his face a mix of frustration and realization. As he walks off, Emily whirls back to me, her expression murderous. You just couldn't let me have this, could you? I shake my head, genuinely baffled. Emily, I didn't do anything. You dragged me into this. Her lips tremble, her carefully composed mask slipping entirely. You were supposed to be the failure, the one nobody cared about, the one who disappeared. I take a slow step forward, lowering my voice. That's the problem, isn't it? I did disappear, and I thrived. Tears well in her eyes, but she blinks them away furiously. You don't deserve any of this. You're nothing. Ryan tugs gently on my wrist. Come on, Lauren. Let's go, I nod. There's nothing left to say. As we turn to leave, I glance back one last time. My parents stand frozen, their expressions unreadable. Emily looks small, like a child throwing a tantrum when the world doesn't bend to her will. I step out of the hall, Ryan's warm hand in mine, and breathe in the crisp evening air. Freedom has never felt this good. The night air feels like a relief against my skin as Ryan and I step outside the hotel. The tension from inside still clings to me, but at least we're away from them, from the voices that once dictated my life. Are you okay? Ryan asks softly. I nod, but my mind is still spinning. Seeing them again after all these years, facing them head on instead of just burying the memories. It's like reopening an old wound, just to prove I can survive it. I'm fine, I say, though it's more for myself than for him. Ryan squeezes my hand, his steady presence grounding me. You were incredible in there. You didn't let them shake you. I let out a dry laugh. Oh, they shook me. But I think that's the last time they ever will. We make our way toward the hotel's entrance, but before we can leave, a voice calls out behind us. Lauren, wait. I turn to see Aaron jogging toward us, his expression strained. Ryan stiffens beside me. Haven't you done enough? Aaron shakes his head. I need to talk to Lauren. Alone. Ryan looks at me, waiting for my answer. I hesitate, then nod. It's okay. He doesn't look thrilled about it, but steps aside, keeping close enough in case I need him. Aaron exhales, running a hand through his hair. Look, I don't know what's true anymore. Everything Emily told me about you, it doesn't match the person I saw tonight. I cross my arms. And what person did you see? He hesitates. Someone strong. Someone successful. Nothing like the bitter failure she painted you as. I nod slowly, unsurprised. She needed me to be the failure so she could be the golden child. Aaron shifts uncomfortably. I don't know what to believe, but I know Emily. She lies when it benefits her. I raise an eyebrow. And now you're realizing that? On your wedding day? His jaw tightens. I should have noticed earlier. There were signs. There always are. But people ignore them when it's convenient. Aaron glances back at the hotel, his expression conflicted. She was so obsessed with making sure you weren't part of this day. That should have been my first clue something was off. I sigh. So what do you want from me, Aaron? Validation that you weren't completely blind. He looks away, ashamed. I don't want to make a mistake. I almost feel bad for him. Almost. But then I remember he believed her. He never questioned it. He was content thinking I was nothing because it made his life easier. I shake my head. That's not my problem, Aaron. His face falls, but I don't care. He made his choice. Good luck with your marriage, I say, turning to leave. His voice stops me again. If you knew she was like this, why didn't you warn me? I let out a bitter laugh. Would you have listened? He doesn't answer, because we both know the truth. I walk away without another word, and this time I don't look back. The car ride home is quiet. Not tense, just thoughtful. Ryan lets me process, doesn't push me to talk. Halfway home, I sigh. They haven't changed. Ryan glances at me. Did you expect them to? No, I admit. But I guess I hoped, just a little. He nods, one hand on the wheel, the other reaching for mine. They don't get to define you anymore, Lauren. They don't control you. I squeeze his hand. I know. And for the first time, I actually believe it. A few days later, the fallout begins. I hear it first, through whispers mutual acquaintances, mentioning drama at Emily's wedding. Then, the real damage surfaces. Emily's picture-perfect reputation, cracking. Apparently, Aaron started asking questions, digging into things. And what he found? It wasn't pretty. Turns out Emily had more than just a habit of lying. She had a whole history of manipulating people, fabricating stories, twisting the truth to fit her version of reality. And Aaron? He wasn't the first guy she'd done it to. Word spreads fast in their social circle. The wedding, once the event of the season, becomes a cautionary tale. People whisper about how Aaron barely spoke to Emily after the ceremony, how he left their honeymoon early, how he's already talking to a lawyer. And my parents? Their silence is deafening. I should feel satisfied. I should feel vindicated. But all I feel is free. Not because they're suffering, but because I finally don't care. Ryan and I take Ethan out for ice cream that weekend. We laugh, we play, we exist in a world far away from theirs. And for the first time in my life, I realize I don't need revenge. I won, just by walking away. The days after the wedding feel strangely peaceful. I expected some sort of emotional hangover, residual anger, sadness, regret, but there's nothing. Just quiet, a sense of relief, like I finally put down something heavy I'd been carrying for years. Emily's world, on the other hand, is imploding. I don't go looking for updates, but they find me anyway. Friends, old classmates, even distant relatives I barely remember, reach out with snippets of gossip. Some are fishing for my reaction, but most just want to talk about the disaster unfolding in real time. Apparently, Aaron didn't just leave the honeymoon early, he filed for an annulment. People say he barely made it through the reception before realizing he'd made a huge mistake. The moment he got home, he started looking into Emily's past, connecting the dots he should have seen long ago. The worst part? He's embarrassed. Not just about marrying her, but about how easily he was manipulated. And humiliation, that's a dangerous emotion. When men like Aaron feel foolish, they don't just walk away quietly. They make sure everyone knows exactly why. And he does. It starts small conversations with family, mutual friends, colleagues at the hospital. Then it spreads. The people who once admired Emily, who fawned over her perfect life, start to turn. By the end of the week, she's radioactive. I'm standing in the kitchen making breakfast when Ryan walks in. Scrolling through his phone, he raises an eyebrow. "You're gonna want to hear this." I sigh. "Do I, though?" He smirks. "Aaron gave an interview." I stop mid-pour, the stream of coffee almost overflowing. "You're kidding." Ryan shakes his head, reading aloud. "I was deceived, lied to, manipulated. I ignored the red flags because I wanted to believe in the version of Emily she presented to me. That was my mistake, and I take full responsibility for it. But I refuse to let her continue this cycle with someone else." I blink. "He actually said that?" Ryan nods. "And that's just the first article. There's more." I slide into a chair, half amused, half in shock. So he's on a full-blown redemption tour. Ryan shrugs. "Looks that way. And it's working. People feel sorry for him." I shake my head. Unbelievable. Not because Aaron doesn't deserve sympathy, he does, to an extent. But the irony is thick. The same people who once looked down on me, who believed every lie Emily spun, are now turning on her. It's not justice. Not really. But it's something. 2 weeks later, my parents finally resurface. I knew it was only a matter of time. They never reach out unless they need something. And after the disaster of Emily's wedding, I have a feeling I know exactly what this is about. The call comes when I'm at work. I stare at the screen for a long moment before answering. "Lauren." My father's voice is clipped, impatient, like I owe him my time. "We need to talk." I lean back in my chair. "Oh, about what?" A beat of silence. Then, "You know exactly what." I do. But I'm not making this easy for him. "Enlighten me," I say, keeping my voice light. I hear my mother huff in the background before she snatches the phone. "Your sister is struggling, Lauren. People are turning against her. She's losing everything." I smile slightly. "And?" My mother bristles. "And she's your sister." "No," I say simply. "She isn't." Silence. My father takes the phone back, his tone sharp. "Lauren, this isn't just about Emily. Your mother and our clinic is suffering because of this mess. Patients are leaving. People are talking. And there it is. They don't care about Emily. They never did. They care about their reputation, their business, their standing in the community." I almost laugh. "You're a doctor's wife now," my father continues. "Like that somehow means I owe them something. You have connections. You can help us fix this." I close my eyes for a moment, inhaling deeply. Then I ask the question I already know the answer to. "Did you ever help me?" Another silence. "Did you ever stand up for me when Emily and Mom treated me like garbage? When you called me a failure? When you tried to stop me from going to college? Did you ever just once help me?" More silence. I nod to myself. "That's what I thought." "Lauren," my father grits out. "No," I say firmly. "I don't owe you anything. I don't owe Emily anything. She's your blood," my mother snaps. I laugh. "So what? That never meant anything to you when I was the one suffering. Blood didn't matter when you kicked me out, when you called me a disgrace, when you treated me like an outsider in my own home." My father exhales harshly. "You're being unreasonable." "No, I'm finally being fair," I say. "I'm treating you the way you treated me." Another beat of silence. Then, finally, my father speaks, voice tight with barely contained anger. "You're going to regret this." I smile. "No, I'm really not." And then I hang up. That night, Ryan and I sit on the couch, Ethan asleep in the next room. I tell him about the call, about what they asked, about what I said. Ryan listens quietly, then nods. "Proud of you." I lean into him, exhaling slowly. It's strange. I thought cutting them off would feel like some huge decision, like something I'd agonize over. But now that it's done, I just feel lighter. He kisses the top of my head. "That's because it was never a choice, Lauren. It was inevitable." I nod, letting the quiet wrap around us. I used to think I needed their approval. that if I worked hard enough, achieved enough, I'd finally be good enough for them. But now I see the truth. I was always enough. They just weren't worthy of me. And now, I'm finally free. Weeks pass. Life settles back into its normal rhythm, but there's a lightness now, a quiet kind of peace I hadn't realized I was missing. Cutting off my parents and Emily should have felt like a loss, but instead, it feels like finally stepping into the sunlight after years of living in the shadows. I don't think about them much until one afternoon when an unexpected visitor shows up at my office. I'm reviewing a new proposal when my assistant buzzes in. "Lauren, there's a woman here asking to see you." She says it's personal. I frown. Did she give a name? A pause. Then, she says she's your aunt. My stomach twists. I only have one aunt who would bother coming to see me, my father's older sister, Claire. She was never particularly warm, but unlike my parents, she wasn't cruel. She mostly stayed out of family matters, but every now and then, she'd drop hints that she saw more than she let on. I hesitate, then sigh. Send her in. A minute later, Aunt Claire steps inside. She looks the same sharp, put together, eyes that miss nothing. But there's something different about her expression, a heaviness. She sits without waiting for an invitation. "You look good, Lauren." I lean back in my chair. "What do you want, Aunt Claire?" She exhales. "Your parents are struggling, more than they let on." I shrug. "Not my problem." Her mouth tightens. "They're losing everything. The clinic is barely staying afloat. No hospital will take them because word got out about how they treated you." I tilt my head. "And?" She sighs. "They need help." I let out a dry laugh. "Of course they do." She studies me. "You don't care at all." I meet her gaze, unflinching. "Not even a little." Aunt Claire nods slowly, as if she expected that. "Emily's worse." That catches my attention. Worse how? She's spiraling. She's been cut off socially, her marriage is over, and she doesn't know how to handle being the one people whisper about. I don't respond. I don't feel sorry for Emily. Not after everything. Aunt Claire leans forward. "Listen, I'm not here to guilt you. I just thought you should know." I cross my arms. "Why? Why do you care?" She hesitates, then sighs. "Because I saw what they did to you, and I did nothing." I blink, caught off guard. She looks down, almost ashamed. "I knew how they treated you. I knew Emily was their favorite. I knew they made you feel like you were worth less than nothing." My throat tightens. "And you didn't say anything." She nods. "I told myself it wasn't my place, that it wasn't my responsibility. But I was wrong. For the first time in my life, someone from that side of the family is admitting it. It doesn't change the past, but it's something. I'm not asking you to forgive them," Aunt Claire continues. "I just wanted to say that I should have done more." I exhale slowly, my emotions tangled. "Why now?" She gives me a small, sad smile. "Because for the first time, they're the ones suffering." And it made me realize how unfair it all was. I nod slowly, letting her words sink in. She stands. "Take care of yourself, Lauren." I watch her leave, my mind buzzing. Not because I feel guilty, not because I feel obligated, but because, for the first time, someone finally acknowledged the truth. And that matters more than I thought it would. That night, I tell Ryan about the visit. He listens, then asks, "Are you okay?" I think about it. Then I nod. "Yeah, I think I am." He squeezes my hand. "Good." I glance at Ethan, playing on the floor with his toys, his laughter filling the room. I smile. I have everything I need, and nothing from my past can change that. A month passes. No more calls. No more unexpected visits. My parents must have finally accepted that I'm not coming to their rescue. As for Emily, she's gone quiet too. The last I heard, she moved back in with my parents, which means their house is probably a war zone of blame and bitterness. And me? I've never felt lighter. One evening, Ryan and I take Ethan out for dinner. It's a small celebration, nothing extravagant, just the three of us enjoying good food in each other's company. Ethan chatters away about school, his latest fascination with dinosaurs, and how he's convinced he'll be an astronaut when he grows up. Ryan plays along. "An astronaut, huh? Guess we'd better start training. You'll need to eat all your vegetables if you want to go to space." Ethan scrunches his nose. "Do astronauts eat broccoli?" I laugh, ruffling his hair. "Only the bravest ones." Ryan winks. "Then we've got some work to do." I watch them, warmth filling my chest. This is what matters, not the past. Not the people who tried to drag me down. This. My family. The one I built. Halfway through dinner, my phone buzzes. I glance at the screen. A text from an unknown number. "Lauren, it's Emily. Please, I need to talk." I stare at it for a long moment. Ryan notices. "Everything okay?" I exhale, setting my phone down. "It's Emily." His expression darkens. "What does she want?" I shake my head. "I don't know. But I don't think I care." And I don't. The difference between us is that Emily only reaches out when she's drowning. She never wanted a relationship, never wanted to make amends. She just wants someone to save her. But I'm not that person. Not anymore. I turn off my phone and smile at Ryan. Let's order dessert. Days later, I get another update, this time from Aunt Claire. She doesn't ask to meet, just leaves me a voicemail. "I thought you should know. Emily's trying to get a job, but no one will hire her. She's burned too many bridges. Your parents are barely keeping up with the bills, and from what I hear, they're starting to turn on each other. I don't know if this gives you any satisfaction, but, well, I just wanted to tell you." I listen to the message twice, then I delete it. Satisfaction? No. Relief? Maybe. Not because they're struggling, but because it means they're finally feeling the weight of the world they built for themselves. I don't need revenge. I don't need an apology. I just need to keep moving forward. One afternoon, I pick Ethan up from school. He runs up to me, grinning ear to ear, waving a crumpled piece of paper. Mom, look!" I kneel down. "What is it?" He shoves the paper into my hands. I drew our family. I unfold it carefully. 3 stick figures, hand in hand. One tall Ryan, one medium me, one small Ethan. Above us, a big sun and a blue sky. I swallow the lump in my throat. "It's perfect," I say, kissing his forehead. "Just like us." Ethan beams. "Yeah, just us." I take his hand, holding on a little tighter than usual. I used to think family was about blood, that no matter what they did, I was tied to my parents, to Emily, that I had to keep trying, keep proving, keep hoping. But I was wrong. Family isn't about blood. It's about love, about who stands by you, who lifts you up, who makes life worth living. And I have that, more than I ever dreamed. As I walk toward the car, Ethan's tiny fingers wrapped in mine, I take a deep breath, letting the last remnants of my past drift away. I'm free, finally, and I will never look back. Story 2, in a peaceful New York suburb. Emma, Amber Donovan's 8-year-old daughter, resided with her. Although their flat, which was constructed 20 years ago, was not very large, it was a cozy place where they shared many laughs. Amber worked diligently as a single mother at a medium-sized marketing firm. She'd been finding it difficult to juggle parenting and working alone since her divorce from her spouse 5 years prior. Even though she was exhausted from working long hours and commuting, Emma's smiles always gave her more energy. "Mom, I passed my maths test today with a flawless score." When Emma got home from school, she would always be excited to share what had happened that day. She was a clever, bright kid with plenty of friends who did well in school. She had long brown hair and big brown eyes. She looked like Amber. "That's fantastic. Emma, you're quite intelligent," Amber silently promised her daughter as she gave her a hug. "I want to give my child the finest life possible, no matter how hard things get." Judith and Howard Clark, Amber's parents, resided in a posh neighborhood around an hour's drive from the city center. Howard had a nice retirement with a sizable pension and investment income after serving as an executive at a large pharmaceutical firm. As the head of a prestigious gardening club, Judith, a former high school teacher, was now involved in local social circles. Olivia, Amber's younger sister, was a gifted attorney in a prominent legal practice. She lived with her husband, Brian, a doctor, and their 6-year-old son, Michael, in an opulent flat close to their parents' house. Olivia never settled for anything less than perfection, whether it was at work or at home. "Do you want to see our new vacation house? This weekend, Brian and Michael and I are going there." There was that familiar tinge of condescension in Olivia's phone voice. Since Amber's teens, the family dynamics have progressively deteriorated. It's obvious that her parents, particularly her mother Judith, preferred the ideal Olivia. Olivia's parents hosted a lavish dinner at a fancy restaurant to celebrate her acceptance as the top student to law school. On the other hand, they viewed Amber's acceptance to art college as an unfeasible decision. Why aren't you more like Olivia, Amber? Her mother's favorite phrase was this one. Amber has always been the daughter that was just a little bit short of expectations. When Olivia married a renowned physician, it was the same story. An extravagant wedding had the full approval of her parents. They remarked, "Couldn't you have chosen someone with a more stable job?" When Amber married web designer Jason, the distance became much further after the divorce. Her parents generously gave Michael costly toys and money for his schooling, and they regularly brought Olivia's family around for supper. Emma's presents, on the other hand, were usually sensible and reserved for exceptional events. I purchased several workbooks for Emma. Education is vital. As she handed Michael the newest game console, Judith would reply. Nevertheless, Amber wanted to foster Emma's bond with her grandparents. Her desire was for her daughter to experience the warmth of familial ties. Even though her grandparents were occasionally distant from her, Emma was a sweet and polite girl who always smiled when she saw them. I sketched this image, Grandma. What are your thoughts? Emma would seem serious as she showed her sketches, but Judith's reaction was always the same. She would dismissively respond, "That's nice, dear," and then swiftly shift the conversation to Michael. Amber promised herself that she would understand when she grew up, even if the circumstance made her heart hurt a lot. She took care to avoid criticizing her sister or parents in front of Emma. Every year, Christmas was especially challenging. There was a hint of tension in the lavish events at her parents' house. Amber and Emma were frequently treated more like invited neighbors than relatives, and Olivia's family clearly got preferential treatment. As Amber glanced at the calendar with December 25th circled, she prayed that this year would be different. Emma wanted to grant her daughter's request by getting her a new doll. Amber put in extra hours and gradually saved money. Amber turned on the car's engine on December 24th and looked in the rearview mirror in the back seat to see Emma's face. Emma handled a tiny handcrafted cookie tin with green and red ribbons with care. "Will Grandma and Grandpa enjoy these cookies, in your opinion?" Emma asked nervously. "They will, of course. You took great care in making them." Amber gave a pleasant smile, but she was filled with anxiety. Her parents' responses were erratic. The vehicle passed homes with opulent doors as it entered a wealthy Westchester County neighborhood. There was a festive vibe in the streets, and the houses were decked out with Christmas lights. "Will Santa visit Grandma's house to emphasize Sean eagerly, Mom?" Amber said. "I'm sure he will," recalling the gifts she had left in their tiny rental flat. Emma used her extra cash to buy the Princess Stella doll she had been yearning. Her exhaustion vanished with the thought of her daughter's Christmas morning joy. Olivia's opulent SUV was parked in front of the door as they got to her parents' big white mansion. Judith stated at the door, "You're late. Half an hour ago, Olivia and her family came." "Hi, Mother. I got delayed finishing work," remarked Amber with a smile. "Grandma, Happy Christmas." Emma brought out the handmade cookies with a smile. "I made these myself." "Thank you, then." After accepting the cookie tin, Judith put it on a side table right away. "Everyone is waiting, so hurry up." There was a huge Christmas tree, shining brightly as you entered the living area. There were already a lot of gifts stacked beneath. When they walked inside Amber, Olivia's son Michael was occupied with the newest tablet and didn't even glance up. "Emma, you're running late." Olivia got up from the couch. She had a flawless hairdo and appeared to be wearing a costly knit dress. Michael was just hearing about next year's summer camp from his parents. "This is an elite scientific camp." "That's fantastic." Amber faked a grin. "Say hi to Grandpa, Emma." Amber gave her daughter a little shoulder nudge. "Merry Christmas, Grandpa," Emma said as she rushed to Howard. Howard grinned a little uncomfortably and gave Emma's head a quick touch as she embraced him. "Hello, how are you?" Judith prepared an elaborate turkey dish for dinner. Expensive tablecloths and candles were used to decorate the table, giving it a unique Christmas feel. But Olivia's family was the subject of nearly all of the discussion. Judith proudly announced that Michael had won first place at the school science fair. The Clark genes have indeed been passed down to Michael. Howard was overjoyed. Amber gave Emma a quick look. Even though her daughter was eating quietly, loneliness could be seen in her face. Emma also received a school art award. "Quietly," Amber said. Judith curtly said, "Well, that's nice," and then abruptly changed the topic. "Olivia, how is your latest case progressing?" Judith declared that it was time to exchange gifts after dinner. Michael clapped his hands enthusiastically and hurried over to the tree. Olivia and Brian smiled contentedly as they sat on the couch. Emma's eyes gleamed as she leaned forward with her petite frame. Amber's daughter's expectations made her heart ache. Emma had been discussing the Princess Stella doll for weeks. Michael takes the lead. A big box was given to him by Judith. After tearing the wrapping paper, Michael discovered the newest electric tiny car. Whoa, that's precisely what I desired. After opening one gift after another, Michael was given a brand new gaming console, expensive sportswear, a science kit, and more. Additionally, Olivia and Brian were given high-end electronics and accessories. Emma's turn came at last. Her grandmother, Emma, gave her the lone little package, which she grasped with her tiny hands. I apologize. Judith's expression abruptly became serious. This year, we were unable to purchase a gift for you. There was silence in the living room. Emma's smile vanished, to be replaced by bewilderment, but her eyes shifted to the stack of gifts Michael had amassed. We need to consider our old age medical costs, Howard said. Luxuries are beyond our means. Amber's body shook with rage, but she remained composed. For Emma's benefit, Emma, don't worry. When we get home, there will be presents from Santa. Emma briefly had a dejected expression before managing a tiny smile. I understand, Grandma. Isn't money significant? Those words tore at Amber's heart. Seeing an 8-year-old child try to understand adult circumstances, she could barely hold back her tears. Christmas night passed in a heavy atmosphere as they were leaving. Michael proudly showed off his new toys while Emma watched in silence. Come visit again, Judith said to Amber. When we have more money to spare, we'll buy something for Emma too that night. After returning to their apartment, Amber cried secretly in her bedroom, burying her face in her pillow so Emma wouldn't hear. A few days after Christmas, Amber was absently scrolling through her smartphone on the sofa after work checking social media. She noticed Olivia's latest post. Several photos accompanied the post. The first showed Michael riding what looked like an expensive new electric scooter. The next was of Olivia's family enjoying dinner at a luxury restaurant. And the last was a family photo of Judith and Howard smiling with Olivia's family in front of a magnificent Christmas tree. The caption read, "The best Christmas with family. Thank you for the wonderful presents and the finest dinner." Amber stared at the screen, unable to believe her eyes. The post was dated the day after they had visited her parents' house. Mom, what are you looking at? Emma returned from school and sat beside Amber. Amber tried to close her phone quickly, but it was too late. Emma had already seen the screen. Wait, is that Michael's new scooter? Emma said. Is it from Grandma and Grandpa? Amber was at a loss for words. Should she lie or tell the truth? But Emma's intelligent eyes were already beginning to understand. But Grandma and Grandpa said they didn't have money. Emma's voice grew quieter. Amber didn't know what to say. Emma slowly pointed at the photo on the phone screen. Grandma, aren't we family too? Those words broke the last barrier in Amber's heart. Years of disappointment and anger poured out. She hugged Emma tightly. We are family, Emma. We're in a family on our own. Emma's shoulders trembled slightly, not from crying, but from the sadness of understanding. Amber quietly made a decision. I understand. This finishes now. At that moment, the doorbell rang. When Amber answered the door, Judith and Howard were standing there with tears in their eyes. Amber, we need to talk to you. Judith's voice was trembling. Her eyes were red and puffy, and her normally immaculate makeup was damaged. Please come in, Amber responded gently, intentionally trying not to reveal her feelings. Howard and Judith entered the little apartment's living area. Emma stood behind her mother, half concealing. Emma, could you play in your room for a while? Amber inquired gently. Emma paused, then nodded and proceeded to her room. However, she didn't entirely close the door. You saw Olivia's social media post, Judith said, practically dropping into a seat. Yes, I did, Amber said bitterly. Olivia's family received expensive gifts from you the day after you informed us you had no money. I can clarify. Judith found it difficult to speak. Describe what? The way you have handled Emma and me throughout the years. Amber's voice was laced with anger. Always. Olivia comes first, followed by us. Or third, perhaps. That is untrue, Howard protested. Everyone was treated equally by us. Amber cut me off. Michael's science camp and pricey gadgets. We also lack funds for my daughter. What fairness is there in that? There was a thick quiet in the room. We were mistaken. After witnessing Olivia's social media post, Judith finally came clean, and as I visualized Emma's expression, I understood what we had been doing. I am an adult. However you treat me, I can handle it, Amber muttered. Emma, however, is unique. All she wanted was her grandparents' affection. We sincerely apologize. Oh, Howard said. Are you going to let us try again? Amber fixed them with her intense gaze. They were still her parents, but the years of disappointment and rage would not go away. Should she give them another opportunity or break off all contact? I am unable to respond at this time. At last, Amber responded, I need time to ponder. Just then, a little voice could be heard. Emma had peered through the door of her bedroom. Emma? Amber yelled. Emma walked stealthily into the living room. Her look was one of unexpected maturity. Grandmother? Grandfather? Emma gave them a direct glance. It's your loss if you don't love me. I'm glad I have my mother. When she heard those remarks, Judith started crying. Howard had crimson eyes too. Yes, Emma, Howard answered. We do love you. He stutteringly spoke. We simply couldn't articulate it clearly. Are you truly sorry? Can you fulfill your commitments? Emma asked a straightforward yet incisive inquiry. Yes, I swear, Judith replied while dabbing at her tears. Despite being taken aback, Amber was pleased with her daughter's resilience. She was glad that Emma recognized her value and realized she was deserving of love. It's growing late. Amber got to her feet. I need some time to discuss with my daughter. Reluctantly, her parents expressed empathy and were ready to go. Judith put a tiny box on the table at the entrance. Emma is getting this as a gift, she said. What should I have given her for Christmas? The door shut, and Emma and Amber gave each other a hug. Are you all right? As she stroked her daughter's hair, Amber inquired. Indeed. I'm all right, Emma grinned. Mom and I work well together, don't we? That evening, Amber gave it a lot of thinking. She wanted to break off all contact with her parents out of instinct, but she also needed to make a cool-headed choice for me. She had a straight conversation with Martha, the company's boss, the next morning. Martha responded, I think you can lead the new project, Amber. It's a significant West Coast customer. Do you want to? Of course. Let me do it, please. Amber answered right away. This was a significant chance. Promotion was a possibility if the initiative proved successful. Amber took Emma to the park over the weekend. Under the wan winter light, sipping hot chocolate while perched on a bench, they conversed. What will we do about Grandma and Grandpa, Mom? Emma asked abruptly. What are your thoughts? Amber wanted to know what her daughter thought. Emma paused to consider her response. Although I'm upset, everyone makes errors, don't they? Perhaps we might give them another opportunity if they truly apologize. Amber was taken aback by her daughter's responsible reaction. The forgiving heart inside of her warmed her chest. You're right, said Amber softly. Let's keep some distance and see if they can actually change, rather than ending the relationship entirely. Emma gave a nod. That should work well for the upcoming weeks, in my opinion. Amber threw herself into the new endeavor. She prepared materials on the weekends, in addition to working from early in the morning until late at night. Emma tried to assist in any way she could, understanding her mother's efforts. When Amber saw her daughter folding laundry alone one evening, she said, Thank you, Emma, for working so hard. You're busy, I know that. With pride, Emma said, Now that I'm larger, I can assist. Amber launched a side business as well. She increased her savings over time by taking on weekend freelance web design work. She was determined to give Emma a better life and demonstrate that they could live without her parents' assistance. She didn't spend much time with her parents. They no longer spent weekends together as they used to, but she still called and sent birthday cards. We still need time, Amber told Judith and Howard, who wanted to come see Emma multiple times. Olivia made no contact whatsoever. She most likely heard about it from their parents, but she did nothing to mend the sisterly relationship. When spring finally arrived, Amber's project was a great success. She was formally elevated to team leader by Martha. Amber, congrats. In the office, Martha declared that the West Coast client was gushing. You will receive a 20% rise in pay each year. Amber brought Emma a cake home that evening. Mom, that's incredible. When Emma learnt of her mother's promotion, she leaped with joy. We ought to rejoice. Indeed. Let's rejoice. Amber grinned. Emma, I pledge to make next Christmas spectacular. Emma hugged her mother. Being with you is already amazing, but if there's a new princess, Stella Castle, she teased, her eyes gleaming. Amber laughed. I'll consider it, little princess. By autumn, Amber's work grew busier and her duties rose. However, it was a positive shift. People around her were starting to admire her, since she had demonstrated her ability. Emma was doing well at school, too. Her project was well received at the scientific fair, and she took home a prize in a creative writing competition. Look, Mom. When Emma got home from school, she exhibited her certificate right away. My teacher thought my narrative was excellent. That's fantastic. Amber gave her daughter a hug. My brilliant author. Her connection with her parents was also gradually evolving. On Emma's birthday, Judith called to offer her heartfelt congratulations on her accomplishment. Emma told Howard about the scientific fair, and Howard listened with excitement, but Amber was wary. To be sure their shift was real, she wanted to take her time. Amber was informed of her upcoming promotion in October. She was the top candidate for a department manager post that was opening up. If it came to pass, her yearly salary would rise even more, indicating a more secure future. Things changed when winter drew near, and Christmas rolled around once more. With assurance, Amber went shopping and bought the princess Emma wanted, according to Stella Castle. She also intended to throw a Christmas party for her pals. Are Grandma and Grandpa coming, Mom? Emma inquired. Amber paused to consider her response. What are your thoughts? Shall we extend an invitation to them? Emma's look was solemn. We can invite them, I believe. Although everyone makes errors, they must fulfill their commitments. When the doorbell rang, Amber answered the phone, moved by her daughter's maturity. When she opened the front door, she was ready. Howard was standing there with Judith. Their eyes were filled with a mix of optimism and trepidation, unlike previous Christmas. I'm happy you arrived. Amber opens the door for them. She spoke calmly, but with a hint of caution. Thank you, Judith replied quietly, for inviting us. She was holding a gift that had been wrapped with care. Compared to the previous year, Amber's flat was entirely different. She had relocated to a larger 2-bedroom flat with her increased salary following the promotion. The living room was adorned with a glittering Christmas tree, and Emma's artwork and fresh paintings were prominently exhibited on the walls. Grandma, Grandpa, and Emma are present. Emma came out of her room as Amber called. She was wearing a new outfit, and her hair was groomed nicely. Grandma, have a wonderful Christmas. Grandfather. Emma gave them a warm, if apprehensive greeting. Happy Christmas, Emma. Howard smiled in response. You look stunning. Your new house is beautiful. Judith surveyed the living area. Thank you. There have been some changes because I got promoted, Amber added with pride. There was a peaceful confidence in recognizing her accomplishments, without any pretense. Coworker Jessica and her family, as well as Amber's friend Karen and her daughter Sarah, were already speaking in the living room. Everyone appeared to be having a good time, and the mood was cozy. Everyone. My parents are these. Amber presented them to her visitors. It's good to meet you. Karen shook hands with warmth. I hear about Emma and Amber all the time. They are an amazing mother and daughter. With a little nod in her eyes, Judith expressed amazement at how much people liked and appreciated her daughter and granddaughter. The celebration went smoothly. Everyone savored the delicious supper that Amber had cooked. The conversation shifted from work to kids to New Year's plans. Even yet, her parents were first a little skeptical. Slowly, they became part of the discourse. In particular, Howard enjoyed discussing sports with Mark, Karen's husband. When supper was over, Amber said that it was time to give gifts. The kids gave an enthusiastic clap. As Emma gazed at the vibrant parcels stacked beneath the Christmas tree, her eyes glistened. Emma takes the lead. Amber gave her daughter a big package. Emma cheered as she realized what was inside the Princess Stella Castle after carefully opening the wrapping paper. Mom, thank you. She sprang to her feet, hugging her daughter and giving Amber a deep embrace. Amber took a look at her parents' response. Howard smiled softly, and Judith's eyes were wet. From Grandma and Grandpa comes next. Emma was informed by Amber. With trepidation, Judith gave Emma a little package. I hope this is to your liking. Emma removed a lovely silver bracelet with a little star-shaped pendant dangling from it after opening the box. It's really lovely. Emma's gaze expanded. My mother gave it to me. From me to you now, Judith explained in a low voice. It is a treasured family item. Are you really handing me this? Emma questioned with disbelief. Indeed. Naturally, Judith gave a nod. You are our cherished grandchild. A brief quiet descended upon the room at those words. Amber's chest began to warm up. This was more than simply a gift. It was an acknowledgement of family. Emma exclaimed, "Thank you, Grandma," while holding the bracelet to her wrist. "Grandfather." Despite her little size, her voice was full of sincere appreciation. Following the gift-giving, the adults engaged in conversation while sipping wine, while the kids played with their new toys. Judith arrived in the kitchen to assist Amber with dessert preparation. "Allow me to assist," Judith said. The cake was sliced and placed on plates in silence by the two. "You're an amazing mother, Amber," Judith stated abruptly. Emma had such a joyful expression. Amber stopped and turned to face her mom. "Thank you. We were mistaken," Judith added. "You and Emma weren't treated fairly by us. Every day I regret it." Amber inhaled deeply. Perhaps it was time to forgive, but the hurt of the past would not go away easy. "We cannot alter the past," Amber said. "The future, however, is different. Emma values her grandparents. I'm open to a partnership that is kind and equitable." Judith's eyes filled with tears. "We appreciate you giving us this opportunity." Emma was excitedly sharing her school assignment with Howard when they got back to the living room. Howard seemed sincere. "Will you attend my upcoming scientific fair, Grandpa?" Emma inquired. Naturally, Howard smiled in response. "I'm excited about it." Guests started to depart as the evening became late. The last people left were her parents. "Thank you," Howard remarked, "for a beautiful evening. It's been a great experience." "It's the finest in ages." "Return?" said Emma. "I wish to discuss more the next time." Amber faced her parents at the door. "I'm grateful for today." Emma expressed her gratitude for the invitation. According to Judith, she appeared to be struggling to find the right words to express what she wanted to say. "Let's go slowly," Amber said, "one step at a time." Emma and Amber sat on the couch after her parents had gone. "Did you enjoy yourself?" Amber questioned her kid. "Indeed. So much," Emma smiled in response. She was clutching the new bracelet on her wrist and the Princess Stella castle with care. "Have Grandma and Grandpa changed, in your opinion?" Amber asked thoughtfully. Emma paused to consider her response. "Indeed, they seem to have altered. Grandpa used to pay attention to me. He would immediately start talking about Michael." Amber gave a nod. Even if the change was little, Emma's day had undoubtedly begun. The science fair is come. She gave a presentation on her research on the connection between music and plant development. Amber was shocked to see that Judith and Howard had already shown there and were standing in front of Emma's booth when they got to the location. "You came, Grandpa and Granny." Emma joyfully raced to them. "Did I not make a promise?" Howard gave Emma's effort a proud glance. "This project is fantastic." Emma delivered her presentation with assurance as the judging got underway. Amber's heart grew proud as she saw her daughter's self-assured manner. "She inherits your traits." Judith spoke to Amber in a whisper. "Your strength and knowledge have been passed on to her." These statements took Amber by surprise. She seldom received her mother's admiration. "Thank you." Emma was given the A Creative Approach Award during the presentation. Amber and her dad stood together and cheered when she approached the stage. "Emma, congratulations." All three of them spoke at once. Howard proposed that they celebrate with supper on the way home. Emma nodded as she saw the expectant expression in Amber's eyes. "It sounds nice." At the restaurant, Howard raised a topic throughout the meal. "I want to talk about something, Amber." "What is it?" Amber stiffened a little. "According to Howard, I spoke with Olivia. I attempted to explain our errors to her, but she still finds it hard." While Amber listened in silence, Judith went on. "We have made the decision to love and cherish each and every one of our grandchildren equally. No more favorites." "I'm glad to hear that," Amber remarked candidly. Howard paused for a moment. "Emma's education fund account has been created with the same amount as Michael's." Amber was taken aback. "That is, you have the option to decline. We hope it can be a small atonement for the past, but we know you're strong and independent." Judith responded hastily. Amber gave it some serious thinking. Previously, she would have declined, but today it was different. This was a show of Emma's equal grandparental love, not simply financial gain. At last, Amber murmured, "Thank you. For Emma, I'll accept it. However, I have a requirement." Howard's words. Amber answered softly, "On our own, we found happiness. I thus desire an equal partnership going forward." Control is not the same as aid. Her parents gave a solemn nod. Family's about cherishing and loving one another, isn't it? Emma stated abruptly. Both tremendous insight and innocent innocence were there in the words. The four seated at the table glanced at one another and smiled in private. After a protracted and challenging journey, the genuine picture of a family finally appeared to be taking shape. 3 years later, in the winter, Amber Donovan was finishing up a new presentation at a downtown New York office. A chic logo for Donovan Digital Marketing was displayed on the wall, and youthful employees were hard at work. Amber has been running her own digital marketing business for a year. The business had 10 employees and was expanding quickly. Numerous consumers trusted her because of her knowledge and straightforward demeanor, and her standing in the field was expanding. "Are you done, Mom?" Emma, who is 11 years old today, peered through the door of the office. She frequently visited her mother's office after school. Amber smiled and replied, "Just a little more." From that melancholy youngster, Emma had developed into a self-assured, vibrant young woman. Her creative abilities were growing, and she had demonstrated her versatility by winning honors in local piano contests. Above all, there was genuine joy in her grin. According to Grandma and Grandpa, they have already reached the airport. Emma displayed her phone. Amber's parents were traveling from Florida to New York tonight. Judith and Howard, who retired 2 years ago, frequently visited their grandkids in Florida, where they had relocated in search of a milder environment. "Okay, we'll go pick them up once I complete my job." The familial bond has gradually been restored. After admitting their errors, her parents now treated each of their grandkids fairly. The same devotion was shown to Michael, Emma, and even Olivia's baby Sophia, who was born last year. Olivia had initially objected to the changes in the household. The unexpected loss of the preferential treatment she had received for years left her perplexed and outraged, but eventually she saw how conceited she was. At this point, Amber's sister relationship was gradually becoming better, and her parents spent more vacations together and spoke on the phone once a month. Despite its flaws, the partnership had grown strong on the foundation of respect and honesty. Her parents were met at the airport in the evening by Amber and Emma. Was the trip enjoyable? Amber hugged her parents and requested. "Yes, absolutely," Judith replied, grinning. She had changed too. She was no longer fixated on perfection and had grown softer and kinder. The doorbell rang that evening as Emma was discussing her schoolwork over supper at Amber's place. Who may that be? When Amber opened the door, she pondered. Michael, Olivia, and young Sophia stood there. "Unexpected," Olivia remarked, with a somewhat ashamed expression. "There was a family get-together, I heard." After a brief moment of astonishment, Amber led her sister inside. "Naturally. Enter." The tension vanished as the night became darker, and laughing filled the room. Amber was pleased with her decisions after seeing the scene. The most significant lesson she had taken away from her life was that her worth was derived from her own love and hard work, not from the opinions of others. Now that she had learned the lesson, she was boldly moving forward,